Good afternoon. You are welcome to a new course titled Crime Scene Investigation. Title Crime Scene Investigation. Crime scene investigation is a branch of forensic science. It's a careful processing, documentation, and collection of physical evidence, also known as forensic evidence. It is also the pathway to the construction of crimes that ultimately gives answer to some questions as to what happened, when it happened, where it happened, who was involved, and how it occurred. In fact, is the science that deal with reconstruction of crime scene. That is, even though the crime had happened and the investigators were not there, but yet because of knowledge of forensic, because of knowledge of the science that they were taught, they were able to piece some evidence together and reconstruct what had really, how, when, and what really occurred. So they can say this is what happened. And in this kind of a work, there are a lot of specialists that work together because at times, generally speaking, crime can be categorized into two, terrestrial crime and cyber crime. Now, there are times that a terrestrial crime might have involvement of cyber crime, and there are times that cyber crime may have involvement of terrestrial crime. And so, specialists from cyber crime and cyber forensic, specialists from terrestrial crime, the specialists from all these angles will come together and work and brainstorm on what had happened so that they can come up with tangible evidence that they can use to get the perpetrator and make sure that the perpetrator didn't go scot-free. So the knowledge of forensic is important in crime scene investigation. Therefore, every crime scene investigator must be equipped with forensic knowledge. And according to website, to Merriam-Webster.com, forensic is the application of scientific principles and techniques to matters of criminal justice. Forensic is the application of scientific principles and techniques to matters of criminal justice, especially as relating to the collection, examination, and analysis of physical evidence. In fact, almost all sciences, almost all sciences can be used when investigating any crime. So the knowledge of science is paramount in crime scene investigation. And in doing this, there are principles and laws in forensic science. Principles and laws in forensic science that a crime scene investigator must understand before they can perform effectively. These laws and principles are about, let me say, they are about 7, but because of our time, we talk about 5 or 6 of them. So we discussed them one after the other. So the first one is the principle of that we are going to discuss: the principle of exchange, the principle of individuality, the principle of comparison, the law of progressive change, law of analysis, and lastly, principle of linkage. Let's go back to number one, the principle of exchange. This principle by Edmund Locard says every contact leaves a trace. In other words, wherever anyone enters a new environment, his body introduces something into the environment and takes away from the environment. That is, wherever two objects come in contact, there is always a change of material. So the criminal is coming to that crime scene with his own characteristics, with some things in his body, and that thing, he will deposit some of this thing in the crime scene, and while going away, he will definitely take some things away from the environment, from the crime scene. So there is always exchange of material wherever two objects come in contact. The criminal may, or the suspect may touch an object there. Touching an object, some things in his body have been introduced to that body, to that object, and object might have introduced something into his body. So if an investigator or investigators, if they're able to process this environment, this crime scene, and interpret the evidence they see correctly, then it will be easy for them to apprehend the perpetrator. Or at times, it may be the body of the perpetrator that will be processed, as in the case of a rapist or a rape suspect. Now, the rape suspect, if the rape suspect is yet to birth, if his body is processed, his or her body, it's not only a man that can rape, there are cases of women also raping a man. So if the body of the rapist is processed before taking his bath, it is possible to see the material from the body of the victim. This principle of exchange by Edmund Locard is the building block of forensic crime scene investigation. So it's something that is paramount. Every investigator must understand it very well. It must be understood very well before you can be a good investigator. Then there's another principle that is very close to it, and that is the principle of individuality by Paul L. Clark in 1963. Paul L. Clark in 1963. This principle states that every natural or artificial object possesses some characteristics that cannot be duplicated in any other form, which means that an object can only be a copy of itself. That is, there is no object, either the one that is created naturally by God or artificial object created by human being, that has a duplicate. So every human being, for example, or every perpetrator, every suspect, we always come to a crime scene with his own characteristics. We come there with his own characteristics that can never be found in another object or in another human being. Well, let's go further. These characteristics are here. They are something like iris of the eyes, the fingerprint, the DNA, the gait, how each person walk. There's no two people that walk the same way. Footprint. Then there are some other artificial objects that even the perpetrator, I mean the suspect, may be bringing to the environment, like the shoe. The shoe, it doesn't matter whether two shoes were manufactured by the same manufacturer. By the time even if they are from the same batch, by the time we subject them to analysis, to forensic analysis, we will discover that there are things that you can use to differentiate them. So the criminal or the suspect is coming to the crime scene with a set of his own characteristics, which, when getting to that crime scene, is going to deposit some and then take some of the characteristics of the crime scene away. And mind you, what is a crime scene? A crime scene is a location where crime took place. That location where crime took place, and that location may be that crime scene may be a physical location, or it may be the body of a victim, or at times it may be a particular document, as in the case of having a deed or a will that somebody, a suspect, has changed some information inside of it. That document becomes a crime scene, because that is where the crime took place. Then, in the case of a homicide, in a homicide case, where a man or a woman is killed or alleged to be killed, that the body of that victim is now a crime scene. Or in a rape case, the body of the victim is a crime scene. Then a physical location also can be inside the house, it can be inside a car, it can be inside a moving train or a parked vehicle. It can even be inside a plane, an aeroplane. So it can be anywhere. So the crime scene is not just a physical location, but any place where the crime took place. At times it may be on the net. It may be digitally, cyberly. It may be in the cyber world. For example, somebody may stay here in Ogun State in Nigeria and be stealing in a system in Nigeria or in Accra in Ghana. So that is not a physical location, but that one took place in the cyber. So that is definition of a cyber. Definition of a crime scene. So let me go over this. The principle of individuality says that every natural or artificial object possesses some characteristics that can never be duplicated in any other form, which means every object is a duplicate of itself or a copy of itself, which means if you apply this one to criminal investigation, that means you should know that every person or every suspect that have been in the crime scene will always deposit something, one of his characteristics there. It may be his DNA. So wherever an investigator is coming and a crime scene investigator is coming, he is looking for these characteristics. It may be the DNA, it may be the fingerprint, it may be the footprint, or even the fiber of the clothes of the suspect, because fiber of his cloth also can be of his clothing, maybe the socks, maybe the cap, maybe the shirt or trousers that he wore on the crime scene. the verbal from that character can be used to link him to the crime scene. So all these characteristics found at the crime scene can be used to link the owner of the characteristics to the crime scene, because the characteristics is peculiar to him, is peculiar to an individual. So I think you understand me. You understand that. Then let's move on to the third principle, the principle of comparison. This principle states that only the likes can be compared. That is, two objects that are alike can be compared. That is, that belong to the same group. Specimens that can be compared must be of the same kind. For instance, when comparing a question document handwritten, answers, that is comprises of A, Z, A, S, answers cannot be compared to Olomu that has ONOMU, because they are nothing, because no characters are similar in the two. Likewise, here characters can only be compared with here can only be compared with here, and not fiber or cotton wool. So the same thing, DNA can only be compared to DNA, and not DNA to bite mark or bite marks to true marks. So artificial object will be compared with artificial object, and even those artificial must be in the same group, must be of the same kind. You can't compare two marks to tire impression. So it will be tire impression to tire impression. It will be 2 mark impression to 2 mark impression. Bite marks to bite marks, and DNA to DNA. So that is the principle of comparison. And even among the things like a fingerprint, where you see a wall, you can't compare a wall to loop. Both of them are not from the same group, even though both of them are fingerprints. So the principle says that only the lights can be compared. Let's move ahead to the next one. The fourth one says law of progressive change. The law of progressive change states that everything changes with the passage of time, and nothing remains constant. Therefore, things like weather, vegetable growth, like actions of human beings or animals may cause rapid change. For example, fingerprint can be processed, can be lifted after if the body of a victim is processed. Fingerprint can be lifted from the body of the victim. But one thing is this: fingerprint in the body of a human being doesn't last, because of the fact that the human being, that victim, will not stay in one place like that, and he will want to take bath. Even if he doesn't take his bath, there are some other things that he will be doing. His action will destroy the fingerprint within a short period of time. That is on human being. Apart from that one, in a crime scene, it doesn't matter how barricades that have been mounted to prevent people from entering. The action of weather can destroy so many things there. So, time when there's incident, it is advisable that evidence is processed and collected at the right time, on time, because actions of human beings or animals may cause rapid change on it. For example, handwriting may change due to old age or the impact of an accident on the writer. So every investigator must know that. Footwear also may change. The detail of footwear also may change due to continuous usage. Then bite mark may fade also away with time. Footwear impression may change due to action of weather on it, and so on and so forth. So it is better to collect them. In fact, there are some evidence that must be collected within short period of time, or else they may not be found. For example, hair can be blown away easily, or viper. So it is good that they are collected on time and collected and preserved on time. So therefore, forensic evidence must be processed within a certain range of time to get an accurate and acceptable result. An acceptable result. So every investigator must know this. If the time of collection is too long, the results may not be acceptable because you may not get the accurate result. And just a little margin in science means a lot of things. I mean, means a lot. It's just a little margin. So to get accurate results, it must be collected within an acceptable range of time. Then that one will take us to the next principle or law. That is law of analysis. Law of analysis. The law emphasizes the collection of the correct samples and their preservation for better analysis. One thing is to collect sample, another thing is to collect the correct one. Then one thing is to collect the correct sample. Another thing is to preserve them well. So if they are not well preserved, there can be contamination. And if there's contamination, we can't get the right result. So the law emphasizes the collection of the correct samples and their preservation for better analysis. The pieces of evidence have to be preserved in the prescribed manner to avoid tampering and destruction. That one there's something we call chain of evidence. Chain of evidence. This one is about chronological order of who and who, or where and where the evidence has reached, or who had handled it at a particular time. That one must be noted, must be documented, along with the evidence. For example, if a piece of evidence like a fingerprint is lifted from a crime scene, it must be preserved with evidence bag, seal evidence bag, and that bag will either have the chain of custody form printed on the bag, or a separate form that is pinned to the body, so that everyone that handle it will feel some information on it, like the name of the agency, the name of the one that collected it from the crime scene, the name of his agency, the date of collection, the time of collection, where they collected it at the crime scene, perhaps maybe in the sitting room, on the surface of the computer, or of the TV in the sitting room, or maybe at the bedside. So that one will be there. Then the type of offense that you are investigating, then the victim, suspect, all these things will be there. Then who collected it might have been written there. Wherever you are taking, probably the such kind of evidence was taken to a police station, who received it there must be documented. And from police station maybe to laboratory, it must be documented, or from the crime scene direct to the laboratory. Whosoever that the officer that receives it from the laboratory also must document it. Then it is possible that the one who receives it is not the one who work on it. That one also, everything must be documented so that at a particular time we can know who handles it and where that evidence has reached. So if there's any type of contamination, you can trace it. Or if anything, if the evidence has been tampered with, maybe changed or something, or destroyed, it can be investigated. So the chain of custody must be maintained because the evidence must be preserved in a way that contamination will be out of the way, and also that nobody will change it. DNA, if it is not properly kept, a corrupt officer can take the evidence away and insert another one there, which means the investigation will not fly. Yes. We are going to stop here today. Today is just an introductory um, lecture. So next week we start again from another lecture.